Hello guys, today we're going to talk about 9 awesome aurora facts. So auroras are one of the most spectacular visual phenomena. It's now understood that auroras are created by the interaction of charged particles raining down into the Earth's atmosphere from space. But once upon a time, they were an unexplained mystery. So through modern science and technology, we learn more about the aurora every day. Here's 10 interesting facts that you might want to know. So, as the first fact, auroras constantly change shape. The patterns and the shapes of auroras are determined by the changing flow of changed particles and the varying magnetic fields. The aurora looks like moving curtains from light because the particles of plasma are moving in response to the Earth's magnetic field. So, as for the second fact, a Norwegian scientist was the first to explain the aurora phenomenon. For thousands of years, people have marveled at the spectacular displays that occasionally light up the night sky. But no one until about a century ago suspected that a connection with the sun. So Norwegian scientist Christian Birkeland was the first to explain the source of the aurora, and by his discovery, a new field of science was created, the sun and earth connection. So if we speak about the term aurora borealis was coined in 1619, the term for the northern lights, aurora borealis, was derived from the Roman goddess of dawn, Aurora, and the Greek name for the north wind, Boreas. There is some debate, however, as to who was the first to name them, French astronomer Pierre Gassendi or Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei. So if we continue to the fourth fact, Captain James Cook named the aurora australis. Captain James Cook named the same phenomenon in the southern hemisphere aurora australis. Following his voyage of the discovery to the Antarctic in resolution 1772 or 75, australis is derived from the Latin word meaning southern. So if we continue to the fifth fact, the oldest known record of an aurora date back in 2600 BC, archaeologists believe that some impressionistic cave drawings depict the auroras in the sky. So the earliest known aurora sighting was written in 2060 BC in China. Fu Pao, the mother of the Yellow Empire Xuanhuan, saw strong lightning moving around the star Su, which belongs to the constellation of Baidu, and the light illuminated the whole area. Aboriginal people associate auroras with fire, death, blood, and omens, sharing many similarities with Native and American communities. There are hundreds of documented reports of auroral sound. Auroras are renowned for their spectacular light shows, but less well known are unexplained reports of sounds being heard during auroral displays, with many reports indicating a hissing sound followed by a sharper crackling or clapping. So if we continue to the seventh fact, the most common aurora colors are red and green. The colors of the polar lights depend on whether the electrons collide with oxygen or nitrogen and how energetically oxygen emits greenish yellow or red light, while nitrogen generally gives off blue light. The blending of these produces purple, pink, and white. And as for the eighth fact, this is for night owls only. Auroras are more likely to occur close to the equinoxes in late March and late September, but displays can occur at any time of the year. Winter months are naturally a good aurora watching times, simply because the nights are longer. The brightest displays typically last for about 1 to 3 hours, and the best viewing times are generally between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. However, there's no magic hour that you are guaranteed to see an aurora. In Australia, auroras have been seen as far north as southern Queensland. Brightest auroras are concentrated in a ring, the auroral oval, centered on the Earth's magnetic pole. This ring of light is usually located above the Antarctic and subantarctic, but enlarges and expands towards the equator during geomagnetic storm. This is why the auroras are best viewed from our south coasts and usually are low on the horizon. Earth is not the only planet with auroras, but we'll talk about this in the next video. Follow us for more.